Now it seems that Israel is in the crosshair of fire. And the question people are asking is, will the terrorist organization Hamas murder the remaining hostages if things go wrong? And they have threatened this. And President Donald Trump of the United States have given them an ultimatum for this Saturday to release all the hostages or hell will break loose. Donald Trump has come with an idea. It's always been a true state idea of the Palestinians having their side in Israel. And it's never worked because the terrorists have always taken over this area in Gaza, and they have manipulated the people, bullied them, used them as human shields, built tunnels underneath hospitals and schools just to shoot rockets and disappear. You find that the Arab nations that associate close with these people, that have used them as a buffer zone, as a thorn in Israel's side, conveniently now don't want to help any of these people. Interesting, they accuse Israel of doing all these things, but they themselves are not wanting to help these people. Well, good morning and welcome this morning to Timeout. My name is Jackwindt, and I trust wherever you find yourself that you're well, that you're safe, and at least you got a hot cup of coffee this morning with you on this Saturday morning. Now it seems that Israel is in the crosshairs of fire. And the question people are asking is, will the terrorist organization Hamas murder the remaining hostages if things go wrong? And they have threatened this. And President Donald Trump of the United States have given them an ultimatum for this Saturday to release all the hostages or hell will break loose. Benjamin Netanyahu, of the Prime Minister of Israel, used a more biblical term when he said the gates of hell will be opened. Now, I want to just say something. These Hamas terrorists should not be in any way have any sympathy. They have now held hostage people for over a year and 4 months, innocent people, not military people. And, when they entered the southern part of Israel on October the 7th, 2023, they took these hostages, 251 hostages, innocent people, and they murdered 1,200 people savagely, women, children. And so these people are murderers. They have got a track record. And these are the people now that want to negotiate. And according to the Israel Times, up to now, I think they have swapped hostages for 1,900 Palestinian prisoners, or Hamas prisoners, I should say. And I think about 700 of those were serving a life sentence. So these aren't innocent people. And if you work the ratio, it's probably 1 in 10 or even more. And they are saying there's still at least over 70 hostages to be released. I think 75, of which they fear at least 30 have already deceased. So these people are keeping bodies to exchange for people. They are evil people, and I believe the judgment of God is going to come upon these people. And it'll be interesting to see, because the Middle East, if you've ever loved to watch end times or be interested, you know that Israel in the Middle East is centered to those things. And in the last year and a half, so many things have happened. It's difficult to keep up with all the action that's happened in the Middle East. So I really believe something significant is about to go down. And I want to say something about this, but I also want to say something about Jerusalem. And why does the Bible say in Psalm, I think it's 122 verse 6, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They that love you will prosper. Why does the Bible tell Christians to do that? And what is the true significance of these things? But before I share that, Donald Trump has come with an idea. It's always been a true state idea of the Palestinians having their side in Israel. And it's never worked because The terrorists have always taken over this area where in Gaza, and they have manipulated the people, bullied them, used them as human shields, built tunnels, spent years building tunnels like rats underneath hospitals and schools, and just to shoot rockets and disappear. They're real cowards. Their whole purpose, if you listen to them, is the destruction of Israel. They have no vision for their own country, their own people. They have used and misused billions of dollars to buy weapons over years, and nothing has happened except the Palestinian people that have lived around there have suffered. And now Donald Trump is saying an interesting thing. Let's move all the Palestinian people out of that area and give them back and relocate them to the Arab nations around that, which I believe many of them originally came from. And it's interesting for me, when I listen to this plan, which is quite radical, is that you find that the Arab nations that associate close with these people, that have used them, I believe, as a buffer zone, as a thorn in Israel's side, conveniently, now don't want to help any of these people. Interesting, they accuse Israel of doing all these things, but they themselves are not wanting to pay a price to help these people. So that was very interesting when I heard that. And will Donald Trump's plan of relocating them, then building up Gaza and occupying that land as American land, I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting time in the Middle East, because there's a major shift happening in the Middle East. So when God said years ago, thousands of years ago, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, in Psalm 122:6, they that love you will prosper. What did he mean by that? And I just want to encourage you with this. You know, if you're a Christian watching, if you love Israel this morning, if you love God this morning, this is important to know. You know, Jerusalem is mentioned over 800 times in the Bible. It is one of the most ancient cities in the world. And it's always been associated with the people of God, Israel. And when Donald Trump in his first term declared Jerusalem the capital, I believe that was a God moment to change things for Israel. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Israel currently is perfect and everything they're doing is 100% right. But when God speaks about pray for the peace of Jerusalem, he's thinking about a plan that he's had all forever. As a matter of fact, the Bible declares Jerusalem as an eternal city. And I'll show you a scripture where it says that. But Jerusalem has always been associated with the blessing of God. As a matter of fact, let me read a scripture in Psalm 132, I think it's 13. It says, for the Lord has chosen Jerusalem. He has desired for it as his home. Isn't that amazing? This is my resting place, God says, forever. I will live here, for this is the home I desire. Isn't that an amazing scripture? So when you are praying, and I am praying for the peace of Jerusalem, we're not just praying a political prayer. We are really praying a prayer that lines up with God's purpose, eternal purpose for his city and for his nation. And you know, every jihadist, every terrorist has probably some placard somewhere hidden where it says, I pray for the fall of Jerusalem, and we're going to march against it. That is the honest truth. You know, this thing with Israel and the Arab nations and even in Gaza hasn't always been just about politics. There are politics. It's also about a spirit. It started, you know, a spirit that wants to wipe out God's people, the Jews. And, you know, Adolf Hitler had this obsession to get rid of the Jews, to transfer them out of his country. And then that obsession went into a possession, I believe, of the devil, where he came up with what he called the final solution, which meant that his plan was to kill 11 million Jews, and he killed 6 million Jews. And he was obsessed. And, you know, even his general or his army commander, you know, Rommel, which was in charge of North Africa, he was busy marching on to Egypt, I think, when they stopped him, and maybe his thoughts was, if we could also get to the land of Israel and we can finally close the final solution. I don't know if that was true, but these people were delusional, so anything is possible. So this hatred that is there is a spirit. And God says, and God is not a God of hatred. And God says, pray for Jerusalem because it lines up with my eternal purposes. And that scripture, I want to read it to you in Revelation 21, I think it's verse 2. I saw God declare that Jerusalem was his city. I think the scripture says, it speaks about Jerusalem coming down from heaven, and then God in the next verse saying, I'm going to dwell there with my people. And so I want to say to you this morning, when you and I pray for Jerusalem, we are not just praying for Israel, and we are praying against the demonic force that wants Jerusalem to fall, who wants God to fall, his plans to fall. And these people that are fighting against God cannot win. You cannot win against God. And so as you and I line up our prayers, it says, they that love Jerusalem will prosper. My name is Jackwindt. You've been watching Timeout. If you've enjoyed this podcast, why don't you subscribe? I'd love to hear your comment. Otherwise, I'm going to catch you in the comments. God bless.